Responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting NORML.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to think and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokats, and welcome. It is Wednesday, February 8th, 2012, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. We're coming to you live and direct from Los Angeles, California in our new remote, we're calling it Shogun Studios here because it's got a decidedly Japanese theme. We're here in Little Tokyo at an amazing condominium. Let me just introduce everyone here in the studio. First of all, joining us as usual at the news desk, our own Cannabis Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Russ.
Oh, get that mic up on there.
No problem.
Everybody's been waiting for the show. We've been off for 2 days. We had ourselves a long road trip across.
We've been busy those 2 days. If you guys have been bored, we have not been bored.
Not at all. Been very busy. You can kind of tell the little slapback. They got cement floors in this room, so it sounds a little weird when we're talking as usual. But
coming to you straight from the bathtub.
Yeah, coming to you straight from the bathtub. Also joining us here in the studio, our guest, our good friend, the Hollywood Hemptress herself, Tere Joyce, is in the studio. Hi, Tere.
Hi.
And we're going to be talking an hour or two with Terry and getting more Los Angeles talk in and getting ready for the High Times Cup. You going to the Cup, I assume?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
all right. So, and I want to thank you for taking the time away from your own show to be here on our show.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and I was really looking forward to seeing you guys and actually being in studio with you face to face.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. A lot of fun. All right. Well, we got to get to the show as it is here for today, and we always start off with our hemp headlines. That's Cannabis Carrie. So what do we have in the news today?
Well, since we've been off for a few days, there's a celebrity presidential nomination with a little bit of controversy we're going to talk about. Also, we have a story coming out from Texas. These stories are a lot better than the police shoot dogs or people are bad parents stories, even though, kind of bad. And also, we're going to go to Massachusetts and find out who is bankrolling the quest to get medical marijuana on their ballot.
All right, let's get legalization, medical marijuana, more of these things on more ballots. That's always a good thing. Also on today's show, we have got Irie Wednesday, so NorCal Perps will be calling in a little bit later today from the Bay Area. He's going to bring us some music from Catch a Fire. Then at half past, we've got Dr. Mitch Early One. We always talk to Dr. Mitch on our Wednesdays, half past the hour, so you can call in at 971-533-7111, or you can get in on our chat line at ustream.tv and ask your questions. We'll pick them up and ask live one of America's best researchers on marijuana and its health effects, its social effects, and so forth. If you got a question, you'll want to get it in on today's show. And then at the end of the show, 45 past the hour, we're going to be speaking with Representative Patricia Todd from Alabama. She is trying to get a Compassionate Use Act passed in Alabama. We'll ask her about the details on that and its chances of passing and what you can do to help out. Stick around. It's NORML Show Live. We're back after this.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hi, I'm Radical Russ. One of the best things about marijuana is the wonderful aroma. But when you travel a lot like I do, that aroma becomes a suspicious smell. That's why I endorse stealth-products.com, the leaders in smell-proof containers. From smell-proof vacuum bags to smell-proof backpacks and duffel bags, all the way to smell-proof digital safes, stealth-products.com has you covered. Stealth-products.com brings you safe, secure, odorless layers of protection with activated carbon fiber. Backpacks and duffel bags are simple black so as not to attract attention with a logo or flashy design. Now, nothing is perfectly odor controlled from the detection of drug dogs, but with proper vigilance, containers from stealth-products.com will help you avoid nosy humans.
You're now listening to Elliot Beats.
Stealth-products.com. Stealth-products.com.
Georgia.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Our marijuana laws are terribly unfair, and they make criminals out of law-abiding citizens. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges, and we are unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They are average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. And it's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Weedmaps.com. I'm Radical Russ from NORML. In my job as outreach coordinator, I travel every month, and when I'm on the road, I need a fast, accurate way to find the medical marijuana dispensaries in the area. So I turn to Weedmaps.com. Weedmaps.com has the best dispensary locator online or on your mobile device. Search by zip code or let Weedmaps find you, and in seconds you'll have the addresses, phone numbers, and customer service reviews for the medical marijuana dispensaries in the local area. Weedmaps.com also has a section devoted to helping you find a doctor who understands and recommends medical marijuana under your state's law. You can even check prices on the Medical Marijuana Stock Exchange. Coming soon, you'll even be able to find the listings of NORML attorneys and chapters, local head shops and grow shops, and the best weed-friendly businesses. Weedmaps.com has the information you need to be an informed cannabis consumer. Visit Weedmaps.com today, a proud sponsor of the NORML Network.
On February 11 and 12, the world's premier medical marijuana competition arrives in Los Angeles for the first time ever. That's right. At LA Center Studios in Los Angeles, High Times will once again present the Medical Cannabis Cup. There'll be panels and seminars with leaders of the medical marijuana movement, including doctors, patients, researchers, growers, dispensary owners, activists, and High Times' own cultivation editors Nico Escondido and Danny Danko. And don't miss our Saturday night VIP party featuring performances by Ioto and Seedless. Plus, Wiz Khalifa will be on hand to accept High Times Stoner of the Year. Don't forget our closing night Cannabis Cup Awards ceremony honoring the top indicas, sativas, hybrids, concentrates, and edibles entered by California's legally operating cannabis dispensaries and collectives. Go to medcancup.com for all the details. Be there February 11th and 12th at LA Center Studios in Los Angeles.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
A billionaire financier and the chairman for Progressive Auto Company from Ohio has given over $500,000 to the Committee for Compassionate Medicine from Ohio so that they will have the funds to get their proposal for medical marijuana in the state to have a shot at making the ballot in 2012. Peter Lewis is the cannabis philanthropist who has given millions of dollars to similar efforts in other states. His company, Progressive Insurance, was started by his father back in the 1930s, and he is still on the board of the giant insurer and reportedly worth billions. The Committee for Compassionate Medicine Group has raised $526,167 so far, and out of that, $525,000 was donated by Lewis. The question that would be put on the November ballot in Massachusetts would ask the voters if they want to allow patients with qualifying conditions to use marijuana for medical purposes. The ballot measure, if passed, would allow doctors to recommend marijuana to their patients with certain medical conditions like cancer and AIDS and MS, and the plan would also allow the state to register up to 35 dispensaries around the state to help patients have access to their medicine. The goal of the measure is stated so that it is to ensure patient access to the non non-traditional treatment allowed patients in other medical marijuana states. With Lewis's financial help, the group hopes that it can convince voters to vote in a statewide medical marijuana law come November. House Bill 625 and the companion Senate Bill 1161 would allow a qualifying patient to possess 24 plants for personal cultivation, including seedlings, and up to 4 ounces of usable marijuana. Plants must be grown indoors, though, and in an enclosed or locked facility. The new treatment centers would be authorized to acquire, cultivate, and process marijuana, including the development of related products such as food, tinctures, aerosols, oils, and ointments. Patients would be issued cards by the Department of Public Health after their doctor determined that they have a qualifying condition. The measure does not include any changes in the driving laws, so driving under the influence laws in Massachusetts would remain the same. And it also does not address health insurers either, so they would not be forced to cover the cost of anyone's medical marijuana. We also know that most of Peter Lewis's donation to the Committee for Compassionate Medicine has already been used to pay signature gatherers, about $350,000 of it. Massachusetts voters said yes to decriminalization for an ounce of marijuana back in 2008, changing the punishment from large fines and jail time to a $100 civil fine instead. Now, if you're interested in helping this group get the Medical Marijuana Initiative on the Massachusetts ballot, their next meeting is at the Springfield Public Library on Wednesday the 29th at 6 p.m., or you can also visit masspatients.org.
All right. I hope everyone gets involved with that, but it's really interesting trying to follow and figure out, the mind of Peter Lewis, the progressive insurance billionaire, because you've got this Massachusetts medical marijuana thing where he is providing, now, let me do the thumbnail calculation here, 99.87%, somewhere close to that, of the funding for medical marijuana in Massachusetts. Meanwhile, when we look at what happened with Prop 19, legalization in California, he didn't want to get involved with funding that, get involved with that fight to much of a degree. And then he said part of the reason why is, well, you don't want to do this sort of thing during an off election year. You want to do it during a presidential election year. All right, so here it is, 2012. We got a very good initiative, regulate marijuana like wine. There's a few others out there as well. There's plenty to choose from, right? But, regulate marijuana like wine's got their thing together. They got some high-profile backers. They've already raised, 30,000 signatures or so. So it's presidential election year. Where's Peter Lewis? He says, well, I don't want to fund anything unless it's above 60% in the polling, right? We want to make sure this thing actually wins if we're going to put some money into it. Okay, so regulate marijuana like wine goes out and gets some polling. They find out in California they're getting about a 62% support for this thing. Okay, so now we're above 60%. Where's the funding now? Well, now it's in Massachusetts, apparently. Now $500,000 is in Massachusetts. And maybe it's because of the timing of the thing, because California, what do you got to have here? Like 500,000 signatures or something like that to get on the ballot? And what is it, April?
I think it's 750,000.
Well, and then trying to go for that so you get
Right.
500,000 that are decent for sure. I don't know about that, but it's a huge number.
Right.
And if you're at 30,000 now and you got till what, April 20th, isn't it?
You're gonna have to pay some people.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
time.
pay some people. It's gonna require some money. So I can't figure out, what Peter Lewis is thinking here. Maybe it's just, let's put the money where there's most likely to get a win. But this does illustrate something about marijuana law reform that we got to take a look at, and that is, since 1996, since Prop 215, if it wasn't funded by Lewis or Soros or some combination thereof, it didn't happen. It either didn't make the ballot, or if it did, it failed. The one that did, with Richard Lee in Prop 19, put a lot of money behind it, got some last second, donations from the Facebook guys and so forth. But we know what happened with that. We've got to change that. We've got to get some of our own homegrown millionaires and billionaires involved in this, so we're not depending on two who are now aging scions of this movement for legalizing marijuana. We got to start putting together. And this is why I get scared a little bit about the whole medical industry getting entrenched and seeing it only as a medical fight, when a lot of their funds and their support should be going toward legalization to make it better for not just patients but their own bottom line. I hope they can look forward enough to be able to see that that's the case. We will keep you posted and see what happens.
And in Arlington, Texas, a city councilman has made headlines over his confession to police that was released in the form of a police report. Mel LeBlanc told police that he got his meth and marijuana from prostitutes that he connected with by using an online escort service. The 61-year-old is apparently unfazed by the public outing, though, as he filed to run for his 4th term on the Arlington City Council on Monday. He told reporters this week that he has already publicly admitted to a drug and alcohol addiction, and that he has been investigated and cleared of criminal charges from the incident last summer, and that he no longer wishes to comment on the whole mess. LeBlanc had just been recently released from rehab last summer when police were called to a domestic disturbance, and police found about a gram of meth inside his home. Candy LeBlanc called 911 on July 23rd after finding a small baggie of meth and a glass pipe. She also reported that her husband was acting strangely and that he admitted to smoking K2 when she confronted him about smelling like marijuana. She told him to get out of the house, and that led to an argument and the 911 call. He said that his wife was right to call the police that night and that he was completely honest in his interview with the police, as evidenced on the police reports. Although the police reports do show some conflicting things that LeBlanc said. During one interview, LeBlanc initially reportedly told investigators that he acquired meth from single females in the Northwest Highway part of Dallas. He later admitted that the drugs came from prostitutes that he would solicit off, quote, back pages, web-based escort ads, on most of the occasion. On Tuesday, LeBlanc denied smoking K2, but declined to comment on the specifics in the report, and he told media that, quote, there were not fingerprints on the baggie, there were not fingerprints on the pipe, and I immediately tested negative for all drugs. The implication that I had relapsed or I had knowledge of that drug is wrong, LeBlanc said. Mr. LeBlanc so far will be running unopposed for his fourth term on the Arlington City Council.
Wow, unopposed. This is one of those situations we always say, be part of the government, make a change. Here you go. Here's a guy just ripe for someone to run against him and his hypocrisy. Someone to take him out. What a better case. Do we have any knowledge of this guy's voting record? Is he one of these family values type hypocrites?
I don't know, but we could certainly do an update on that. Would be super fun to find that out.
Sanctity of marriage. I'll bet you a half ounce, man, that this guy is one of those anti-gay marriage, sanctity of marriage, prayer in schools type of guys.
He did go on and on about how he appreciated the public service, the police that came to his house, and that his wife was right and that he was in the wrong, yada yada yada.
Yeah. We'll follow up on that. We'll find out if how much hypocrisy this guy's loading around here.
Sounds like fun. And I'm thrilled to give this story today since we have the very funny Tere Joyce in studio. We got a I know. We got a comedy story here. Celebrity comic and actor and also reality star Roseanne Barr. Have you ever met her?
I have met her.
Oh, sweet. Well, she filed documents to seek the Green Party's nomination spot for President of the United States. Roseanne, who says she is very serious, has begun a digital campaign and would like to have the Green Party endorsement for the 2012 November election. Barr says that she is sick of both the major party politicians and would like to work for the people. Her platform? Well, since we're mentioning it here, you can probably guess she would like to use her power to help legalize marijuana for personal use and for sale domestically in the country. She also lashes out at both parties, saying that the Democrats and the Republicans have been bought and paid for by the 1% of rich Americans, and they are not doing what's best for the American people. Now, Barr will be one of the 23 candidates so far seeking the nomination from the alternative third political party. The Green Party will choose its candidate at its convention in Baltimore, which takes place July 12th through 15th. Now, there was some controversy over a post by celebrity blog site TMZ, who quoted NORML's Alan St. Pierre as announcing support for Barr's run for president. Now, in actuality, St. Pierre was accepting Roseanne's support for us, I think.
Yeah.
Russ, can you comment on this and clear up the controversy? Because personally, I was hoping that NORML would get behind Ron Paul. What gives?
No, what it is, that we got a lot of the call from the Ron Paul people when they saw this. They said, "Oh, see, NORML will support Roseanne Barr, but not Ron Paul, who's been running yada yada yada." No, it wasn't like we were saying, "Oh, Roseanne's running for president. She has our endorsement." It was more like, "Hey, somebody who's running for president wants to legalize marijuana. Hey, that's great. We support that." So don't get it wrong. It wasn't like we were calling out for support for Roseanne. I mean, more power to her. If she can get on the ballot and help us legalize, that will be great. Terry, how about you as far as
the
Roseanne
I love Roseanne. It's very Pat Paulson. I don't know if you ever him, but
I remember Pat Paulson.
She makes a lot of sense to me. She's a smart woman. And she's right. The right and the left have been bought up by the 1%.
That's right.
And if she does run, I would maybe even just go, fuck it. I'm gonna vote. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna vote for Roseanne. She makes sense to me.
Well, you're in California. It's not like Obama's gonna lose California. So
right.
So in a sense, it's kind of like the Nader situation I had in 2000, where I was in Idaho. There was no way Bush was gonna lose Idaho, so I could throw my vote with Nader and make my statement that you got to pay more attention to some of his issues. Maybe same thing with Roseanne, same thing with Ron Paul, same thing with a lot of these candidates.
Ron Paul's starting to make a lot of sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
I really saw him speak out against the NDAA as well. And
for folks that don't know, that's the National Defense Authorization Act. That's the one where the president can say, enemy combatant into a cage, not tell anybody, don't tell your lawyer, nobody knows you're there.
Right.
We used to call that disappearing when the Soviets and the other, Eastern Bloc countries used to do it. All right, folks, we're going to take a break here in just a little bit, but remember, we are live here in Los Angeles, California at our in our Shogun studios here in Little Tokyo, and we will be bringing you live coverage of the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup here in Los Angeles, just a few blocks that way in LA Center Studios, Saturday and Sunday, right here at live.normal.org. We will be covering from noon to 7. You can also get involved in our raffles, and we're going to talk about the raffles a little more in hour 2. We'll show off some of the prizes. We're also going to be raffling off to our Twitter followers at NORMLNet. So follow at NORMLNet if you want to get involved in that Twitter raffle. Hey, Carrie.
Time for a break?
Yeah.
I was just going to say you better get some of those raffle tickets. You're more excited about it than anyone else. He's so excited.
All right, we'll be right back after this. Smoke them if you got them.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support NORML Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215. Or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
Hey everybody, it's Wiz Khalico from the Ivory Island Hour, which comes to you live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific on the NORML Network. I just wanted to let you know that 2 of my favorite bands are teaming up to spread good vibes across the land and are headed to a venue near you. Revolution is heading out on the second leg of their tour in support of the release of their new triple album, Peace of Mind, which includes full-length acoustic and dub versions. They'll also be joined by our boys from the land of Aloha, The Green. We're also promoting the recent release of their latest album, Ways and Means. You can check out a full list of shows, get the latest swag, and most importantly, find their music at revolutionmusic.com and thegreen808.com. Don't miss this amazing tour. I promise you, after these shows, you'll have peace of mind.
Hey, this is John Papa. You're listening to the NORML Show Live.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we get tunes for Irie Wednesday, our celebration of that mellow vibe we find in the best of reggae, ska, calypso, and Latin music. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@normal.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tune.
Why, it's just like I saw you yesterday. Kyle, Perps, are you there, man?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing today, Russ?
I'm doing great. Last Kyle saw me, I was sleeping on a floor and barely had my eyes open after a couple of dabbery-doos, so. I did say goodnight, didn't I?
Yes, no. We did have our pleasant goodbyes and everything.
I didn't have a pleasant goodbye, Kyle. I'm so sorry. I did fall asleep.
Well, I didn't want to wake you, Carrie.
Dang it. I'm a light sleeper. You should have.
Oh, it's all right.
It's old home
see
family reunion week here on Normal Show Live. Kyle brings us our Irie Wednesday music, and that just means reggae, ska, calypso, island, world type music, stuff that makes you feel Irie. So right here in the middle of the week, we can start feeling better about the weekend coming up. So Kyle, what do we got for music today?
Well, with Valentine's Day just around the corner, I figured I'd play a little bit of a reggae love song, a little something I like to sing to my mother plants to perk them up a little bit. Coming from our favorite New Zealand band, Catch a Fire, we got their song Meant to Be.
All right, this is Catch a Fire with Meant to Be. Let's get Irie. And will we see you up here in LA? You coming down for the cup?
No, I won't be making it down. I'm watching Jay's dog so him and NorCal can make it down.
Somebody's got to watch that dog. It's all head. We'll see you later, Kyle. Thanks for calling in.
See you, Russ.
Come back on the one, yeah. Won't you come back on the one, yeah. Won't you come back on the one, yeah. Won't you come back to me, girl. Come back again.
La cucaracha, la cucaracha, ya no puede caminar.
You're listening to Normal Show Live.
Tiene porque le falta marihuana que fumar.
The voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, tokers and tokettes, this is Radical Russ from Normal Show Live. We're proud to be the voice of the marijuana nation and proud to have you on our team. Now, you can represent NSL in your own Normal Show Live gear from handmadeapparel.biz. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel is one of us and a huge supporter of our show. He's designed the classic blockhead line of NSL shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Worn by Radical Russ, Cannabis Carry, and Ganja John on the show and at live events, the designs feature their iconic logos and the "It's got to be 420 somewhere in the world" tagline. Proceeds directly benefit Normal Show Live and HandmadeApparel.biz, one of our community's strongest supporters. You can also get your Cannabis Cure UK, Ganja John Show, Irie Island Hour, and more gear from the Normal Network at HandmadeApparel.biz. Visit HandmadeApparel.biz today.
Don't criticize. This is Peter Tosh for NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Did you know that more than 400,000 Americans were arrested last year for the possession of marijuana? People are being sentenced to up to 40 years for even standing beside a joint. Well, I think it is definitely time for you to help doing something towards this. To find out what you can do, just write NORML, NORML.
1600 K Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. 2006. That's 1600 K Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20006.
Help NORML to help protect your rights.
It's time for Normal Show Live's Cannabis Science with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. Dr. Earlywine is a professor of psychology at the State University of New York in Albany and the author of Understanding Marijuana. Now here's your dose of cannabis science.
All right, we're back with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. Dr. Mitch, how you doing?
Having a great day. How about you?
Oh, we're doing good. We're in L.A. here at our remote studio, so a few more buttons that I have to push to get you online there, but we got you there, and everything's sounding good. So things are nice and sunny here. We're glad to get a chance to talk to you. And folks, if you want to get your question in for Dr. Mitch Earlywine, we are live here at 4:33 Pacific time. If you're watching a replay, don't call now, but if you're live, get us your questions in by dialing 971-533-7111, or you can send them through our chat room. Cannabis Carry will pick them up, and we will have. I'll have you ask the questions directly though, because we don't have that chat between us. Okay.
Interesting.
Yes,
Let's try it.
We'll see how this works. So, Dr. Mitch, I did want to start off with something that I saw posted up on our Normal front page. Paul Armentano brought this up. Was a recent study on the effect of medical marijuana laws and the childhood use of marijuana. What can you tell us about that study?
I mean, the bottom line is we're not seeing the expected alarm about, oh, teens are going to use marijuana a whole lot if there's a medical marijuana law. If that's consistent with your memory of it, and then we're thinking of the same one, what's essentially happened is teen use is pretty much the same in those states as it was prior to the laws and the longitudinal data. And if you compare to comparable states that are neighboring that don't have medical marijuana laws, you don't see increases that are any different from the ones you see in those states that don't have medical marijuana laws. But the bottom line is, you know, nobody really wants to use grandma's anti-nausea drug when it comes down to medical marijuana.
Yeah, this is out of the Journal of the Annals of Epidemiology. The folks out at McGill University in Montreal, they're looking at the National Survey on Drug Use and Health 2002 through 2009 and using what they call difference in differences regression models to indicate the causal effects. These estimates suggest that reported adolescent marijuana use may actually decrease following the passage of medical marijuana laws. And again, you think that's part of just the de-glamorization of marijuana in the kids' eyes?
It's odd because there are multiple things going on across that time period. And I mean, at the NORML conference 2 years ago, I mentioned that I would actually be concerned about this if I thought that meant they were turning more to prescription drugs, but it didn't seem to be the case, at least in the data that in the data set that these guys also have. And then across time, I mean, that's the best we've got as far as longitudinal follow-up. This questionnaire, of course, has its quirks, but the idea that they would actually go down is so counter to what the alarmists have suggested for these data. I should emphasize that down is not a huge effect, and I wouldn't suggest that just passing medical marijuana laws become our new approach to preventing teen marijuana use.
Right. And I wonder, what do we do? What do you suggest we do to reduce teen marijuana use? We can look at those national surveys and find that, 2000, or as far back as 1979, 78, 79, we had 60% of high school seniors had reported trying marijuana, and now those numbers are much lower, but they're not as low as they were in the late 80s following the Reagan years and Just Say No. What does work, and what can we say doesn't work as far as affecting teen marijuana use?
So oddly enough, having a cop come to your school and tell you about the DARE program doesn't seem to be paying off. What a surprise. Yeah. I think the error in a lot of these is focusing on trying cannabis once versus focusing on cannabis-related problems. And so I think sometimes the issue is not did you get to try it once, which may very well be normative in the high school years, but are you suddenly using regularly in a way that could be harmful, and that's definitely what we want to prevent. Steve Sussman at the University of Southern California, who has now actually moved to Claremont, has a program where basically some hip older teen comes to the class and just says, "Hey guys, tell me your concerns about marijuana," and leaves a uniform discussion going back and forth rather than some pedantic rant and rave about, oh, marijuana is going to kill you. Instead, the teens in the class get to generate their concerns about it, and often it's things like, hey, I'm hacking up a lung at soccer, and I think I need to lay off marijuana, and you find out they're smoking cigarettes too, and you really get a big discussion about health and relationships instead of just trying to demonize a plant that really doesn't have a lot of data supporting its demonization.
Yeah, and I think one of the things for me, thinking of my experiences back in the day as a youngster, of course I'm growing up in rural Idaho, but maybe that's even more typical than I'd expect, in that I didn't experience or have any or even know anybody that had experienced cocaine or ecstasy. Well, ecstasy wasn't a big thing in the early 80s, but cocaine or acid or any of these other drugs. But I had heard of marijuana, and I kind of think that it being illegal keeps that, not only that discussion on the back burner, but also the discussion about the harder drugs on the back burner, and maybe even the ones that are legal, alcohol and tobacco, don't get discussed. I mean, how much of marijuana legalization would help in harm reduction for teens by getting them accurate information?
It's interesting because it's not only that they actually get to hear the data that are true, but you actually build their trust then on what you say on the other drugs. So we've talked about this before, but when I go to high schools and say, look, guys, methamphetamine is really seriously addictive and can actually shrink your brain, we have data on that now, they listen to me because I'm not the guy who said, oh, and marijuana is going to make you put heroin in your arm, because they know that's not true. But if you tell them one lie, of course they're going to think everything else you say is also a lie. I also feel like we have some pretty interesting evidence from the Netherlands now that basically separating the marijuana market from the hard drug market in the underground really does make it so that people are less likely to use those drugs. Craig Reinerman's data comparing San Francisco and Amsterdam suggests that the folks in Amsterdam are much less likely to be exposed to hard drugs in the sense that their dealers don't have it, but also less likely to use them. The opportunity to use particularly heroin and cocaine is just not the same in the Netherlands because you can get marijuana at a coffee shop, and clearly those people don't have those hard drugs in the same way that an illicit dealer in San Francisco might.
We're speaking with Dr. Mitch Earlywine from SUNY Albany, and we have some questions coming up from our chat room. You can get our questions via chat or call in at 971-533-7111. If you don't get your question answered on this session, you can join us next Wednesday, or you can send it privately by email to 420research@gmail.com. That's 420research@gmail.com. Turn it over to Cannabis Carrie, who's been keeping track of the questions.
Well, the first one goes straight to the heart of the matter. And Dr. Mitch, I guess if you knew this answer, you could fund one of these ballot measures for us and fund the studio. But Reefer Rob in the chat room would like to know, does cannabis really cure cancer?
As it turns out, we've got some pretty compelling data that cannabinoids can shrink tumors. We've got some other things on basically THC and other cannabinoids altering breast cancer cells. I feel like the strong antioxidants, not only cannabis, but also some of the extracts in curry and some other natural plants that tend to, keep cells from forming these essentially what are sort of deviant mutations that lead to tumor growth. That's going to be the path. And the cannabinoids are really good at this. I do feel like we've got a lot of promise here.
All right. Next question.
The second question comes from Lively Libra, one of our good question askers. She says, speaking of DARE, what will it take to get it out of our schools? The research certainly doesn't seem to be supportive of it. What do we need to do, Dr. Mitch?
What's curious is the empirically supported prevention programs are now actually on a list at, our central government, but the local schools are afraid to turn away from DARE because they don't want the police force moving against them. So, sad but true, my daughters are at a school where I said, come on, the DARE program, it's ridiculous. And they said, oh, yeah, we know, but the cops really like to do it, and we love to have them on our side. And that just breaks my heart. So basically everyone's wasting their time just so each individual school can have a nice relationship with law enforcement. And in truth, law enforcement, these guys aren't idiots. They could certainly learn how to do these other prevention techniques if they want, or do other programs at the school and keep that nice relationship going. And I feel like if we can start the grassroots at our own local schools, and I realize, I'm talking to myself as much as anyone else, that's going to be the way to do it. And then encourage the government to only fund the programs that have empirical evidence, like Steve Sussman's Towards No Drug Abuse, and we'll be in a whole lot better shape.
Dr. Mitch, if we only fund things for which the government can prove utility, that's going to put a whole lot of defense contractors out of business.
Nice
Sad but true.
Carrie?
Here's another one. There's a lot of interest, of course, in cancer and curing cancer. It's probably affected everybody listening. But is there a difference in effectiveness in using cannabis extracts versus smoking it in terms of tumors or any other issues that you could think surrounding that?
The literature on humans is so small that it's silly to try to compare one thing to the next. And when we're talking about the level of the tumor, we just don't have those data. I wish we did.
I know as far as the effect you may feel can be different smoking versus eating, edibles and tinctures.
Oh, we've talked about that in the past, but basically the liver forms that 11-hydroxy-THC, which is markedly more basically easy to pass through the blood-brain barrier, and it's going to have a bigger impact than you would smoking. But, of course, it takes a lot longer for that digestion process to happen, so you'll have a longer duration and basically a longer time to get to your peak, so to speak, whereas smoking, inhalation, that blood usually reaches your brain within a few seconds, and so you're going to have a more rapid impact, but also a more rapid decline.
All right, we have time for one more question, but again, folks, if you don't get your question in today, send it by email to 420research@gmail.com. All right, Carrie?
All right, this comes from another one of our, our advanced questioners. Here's the NORML stereotype wants to know, do you have any more explanation behind things like tetrahydrocannabivarin?
Well, so THCV, we're still in the new stages with it. I'm always reluctant about it because it's one of those things that in the drug test can sort of tell who's been taking Marinol from who's been actually using the plant. I hate to say it, I have this tacit demand to ignore that literature, if you will, because of those bad findings. And as more literature is coming out on that substance, we're finding it does have some novel properties that aren't in just plain old THC, but it really needs some replication before we can say anything with reassurance. I'm sorry that I have to keep saying we don't have data, but we've got a really sophisticated set of questioners now, and they're really out on the edge.
All right. Well, keep those questions coming, folks. Again, 420research@gmail.com. And Dr. Mitch Earlywine joins us here for our Cannabis Science segment every Wednesday, and we appreciate him so much for doing that. Just Google Dr. Mitch Earlywine, and you'll get the information on how to pick up his books, which are incredibly informative. And Dr. Mitch, thanks again for joining us.
Really a pleasure, guys. Have a great time while you're there.
We'll do our best. Thank you so much. All right, when we come back, we are going to be speaking with Representative Patricia Todd from Alabama on medical marijuana down there. We'll be right back.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Alternative Medical Choices offers healthcare the way it should be. Easy to access, patient-centered, team-based, and quality-focused. We offer a variety of natural, affordable healthcare treatment options like primary care, group acupuncture, massage, and assistance with OMP registration. As a patient, you will have a team of experts working with you to make you the best you can be. Call Alternative Medical Choices at 503-288-5579 or check us out on the web at altmedchoices.com.
Tune in to the NORML Network every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern for our primetime lineup. We begin with an hour of daily Toker tunes, followed by NORML Show Live and Toker Talk Radio, live from Rolla J Studios in Portland, Oregon. Then you get 2 hours of recorded podcasts from national and international reformers, followed by our late-night live shows at 11 p.m. Eastern. Then the whole 6-hour block repeats twice overnight. It's the NORML Network, your source for the best in marijuana media.
NORML Show Live reminds you to never consent to a search. If you're holding and you consent, in most states you will be arrested immediately and you will go to jail. If you don't consent to a search, police may try to intimidate you by threatening to bring in drug-sniffing dogs or try to fool you by saying things will go easier if you consent. Yeah, easier for them, sure. Stand your ground, refuse the search, and ask the officer if you're free to go. If they still detain you and eventually find your contraband, you'll be no more busted than if you had allowed the search. But by refusing the search, your attorney has a chance to win your acquittal before a judge. If you consent to the search, your attorney's hands are tied. You can find a list of NORML Legal Committee attorneys specializing in marijuana cases by visiting the Find a Lawyer link at norml.org.
NORML stands for Reforming America's Prohibitionist Marijuana Laws, and that cannot happen without directly engaging our government and elected officials. Local NORML chapters and other affiliated activists relentlessly lobby our lawmakers for a change we can believe in and report on their strategies and progress in this segment we call Our Government at Work.
All right, thank you for joining us. We are joining on Skype here. We're visiting with Representative Patricia Todd from Alabama, and I hope we've got you on the line. Are you there, Representative?
I am here.
Oh,
I'm here.
Thank you so much. We're doing this from a remote studio in Los Angeles today, so I don't have the luxury of a call screener to explain what's going on. So thank you so much for picking up and holding on.
No problem.
Okay, so we're so excited to have you here today because, you know, like I said, we're coming to you from Los Angeles, and our studio is normally broadcasting out of Portland, Oregon, both states that were very early adopters of medical marijuana legislation to protect sick and disabled people who choose to use that as medicine. You're in Alabama. It's a whole different political landscape there. Tell us about this fight for medical marijuana legislation there in Alabama and what you're doing to push the ball forward on this.
Well, I've been handling the bill for about 3 years, and I work for an HIV organization, so I've had personal experience seeing how marijuana can help those who are either have cancer, HIV, MS, seizure disorder. And, I mean, we're making progress. It's slow and painful in the South, of course. But even today, I was talking to a lobbyist for the DA's Association, and he said, you know, we need to sit down and talk. Their concern is obviously how people get the drug. And I said, look, we're willing to sit down and talk about this. And, you know, we're making progress. Is it going to happen this year? Probably not. But every year we get closer.
Does it seem the people that you're speaking to about this issue, do they understand that there are people in Alabama right now who are using marijuana as medicine and they're getting arrested and suffering the consequences?
Yeah, they do. And, you know, we got to remember we're in a very Republican state, and
Sure.
there are people who clearly do not understand the effects of marijuana, and that, you know, I talk to them every day and try to educate them about why this is important. And our biggest obstacle is really the pharmaceutical companies who obviously know that this is an effective drug that can be used and that people would probably rather use marijuana than some of the other more addicting drugs that they get prescribed. So, it's just building coalition. It's continuing to educate people. But I believe if I could take an anonymous vote, that we'd probably get this thing passed.
Yeah.
It's really about voter backlash. They're so afraid of voter backlash and looking soft on drugs. But, I keep talking about, I do believe in the next decade that this issue is going to be a national issue, and that, I'm an advocate for legalization. I make no bones about that. I think it's far less harmful than alcohol or other prescription drugs that people take, and it's a natural herb, and that the state can make money off of it.
Well, there you go. That's the case to be made. Absolutely, Representative. We're speaking with Representative Patricia Todd from the Alabama legislature, who's working on a medical use bill in Alabama. Now, how many times has this been brought up in Alabama, and what is the furthest it's made it through the committees and the hearings process?
Well, we've never gotten it out of committee.
Yeah.
I think we've been introducing this bill for 4 or 5 years. But this year, for the first time, we also have a Republican sponsor. We have 2 bills in the House, one by a Republican and one by me. We are working together because, the objective is to get this thing passed. The good thing about the Republican is his sister suffered from cancer and greatly benefited from using marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to have both sides of the aisle working, on this issue.
Absolutely. Now, is there any perceived backlash or problem in trying to get these laws passed based on perceptions of how medical marijuana is working in the West Coast and Colorado?
Yeah, people always bring up California and Colorado and how people are abusing it, and anybody can get a prescription, and and my point to them is, you can keep your head in the sand forever, but this is going to happen. It is going to be decriminalized. We have far too many people going to jail for simple possession, and right now our prisons are overcrowded, and we are so close to the federal government taking over our corrections system, and that may not be a bad idea. But and I'm actually trying to work with the agriculture department, saying, look, here is something that we can grow. We can control it. It can be regulated, and I think we can address all the concerns they have. But to me, it's just a no-brainer. And I just keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And we do have some sentencing reform legislation that was introduced last year that would have decriminalized for simple possession. But the people who are pushing this bill through have absolutely no clue about quantities of marijuana and, what would be for possession versus distribution. Of course, I'm like, I don't care. I think this is just something that, the state government can make money on. It can be regulated. People do use it. Let's stop the illegal use coming from Mexico. Let's allow people to grow it. You and I both know, and your audience knows, that this is not a gateway drug. It is not addictive. People use it daily, and let's decriminalize this and get people out of jail who just have small amounts for their own use.
Absolutely. Representative Patricia Todd from Alabama, working on medical marijuana. And Representative Todd, before we go much farther in the interview, do you have any websites or information you'd like to get out to our audience if they want to help with that fight in Alabama? We got a few Alabama listeners, I know.
Well, yes, and there's actually there's 2 organizations working for this in Alabama. One is the Alabama Medical Marijuana Coalition, which you can look them up, Google them, or look them up on Facebook. And the other one is a compassionate use group. And they're both working to try to get this done. And they're present every day in the State House talking to folks about this issue. And, surprisingly enough, when I talk to people who have lost someone to cancer or from a debilitating pain or anything like that, they get it. They would have done anything in their power to take that pain away. And I tell you, 2 of the 3 calls I get, first of all, I've never gotten a call in opposition to what I'm doing. But 2 of the 3 calls I get of people who want to help are veterans. And I've encouraged them. I said, you all need to come to the State House.
Yes.
And, because that's what's going to turn the tide.
Yes.
If they see how many veterans really use this, and it's very helpful to them.
Oh, yeah, not just for the pain of injuries, but also the mental health effects for, PTSD
Right,
and anxiety.
exactly.
It's amazing.
And, interestingly enough, I love this bill because people, they want to support it, but they're scared or they're ignorant about the drug. And I can't tell you how many legislators come to me and, joke with me, well, maybe we need to have a sample or, whatever. And I'm going, you all are such hypocrites. Get out there and do something right. Take a risk. That's why the people elected you. And I guarantee you, if you explain this, why you voted for it, that people will understand. And we all know there's growing support for this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to happen. And I feel privileged to carry the bill. It's something I feel very strongly about. And I'm going to keep pushing for it.
Fantastic. That's something, else that you mentioned earlier in the interview, the fear of the voter, the fear of the political backlash. But now with medical marijuana, even in southern states, polling at 75%, is it not so much fear of voter backlash, but fear of certain voter backlash? Some people, the way they feel and their connectedness and their power?
Well, true. Now, I got a lot of Republicans in there who've probably never done any illegal drugs. They've never done marijuana. But when I talk to folks who have ever used it, of course, they always say that's in my college days. I'm like, okay, right. But they get it, and they can clearly understand how this would be helpful to people and that it's not addictive and it's not, you're not going to go from marijuana to heroin.
Yep.
But if people never used marijuana, they have no idea what that high is like, and they're like, well, I don't think they should be driving a car or something like that. And I'm like, are you kidding? I'd sure rather be in a car with somebody who's high than drunk. Really.
Yeah, Representative Todd, I love your perspective on these issues, and we need to clone you and make a whole bunch more and a whole bunch more state legislatures all across the country. So thank you so much, and everybody check out what's going on in Alabama, and check out Representative Todd. You've got your own website, too. Is it patriciatodd.net?
I do. .net.
Yeah, patriciatodd.net. Check that out, and, we like to get
and
on
also on Facebook.
On Facebook as well. Too. A lot of times we like to get on the legislature and the legislators when they make us angry, but let's also give them a lot of kudos when they're doing the right thing and spreading the right message. And you, ma'am, are definitely doing that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, and I really appreciate what you all do too.
All right, we'll keep it up then. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, folks, that's it for Hour 1 here at Normal Show Live. And stick around, Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. We're going to hang out. And I tell you, the studio is so much more beautiful with Carrie and Terry in it. I am so happy. So stick around, get in the chat. You can also call us. Our live line will be open at 971-533-7111 if you have any questions for us, comments, want more explanation on stories, anything. We are here. We're live in LA at our Shogun Studios in Little Tokyo for Cannabis Carrie and Tere Joyce and Dr. Mitch and NorCal Perps. I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
Don't forget to check out our live coverage of the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup. Visit medcancup.com for more information. We're live Saturday and Sunday, noon to 7.
We love the earth.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it out one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.